These camps are full of horror stories that have been hidden from the world. Thousands of people who fled Al-Fashir and lost loved ones to brutal violence and famine.
If you remember, Wesley Clark laid out a list of 7 countries that we were going to invade. Let's take a little look at that, refresh our memories.
In Afghanistan, I said, are we still going to war with Iraq? And he said, oh, it's worse than that. He said, he reached over on his desk, he picked up a piece of paper, and he said, I just got this down from upstairs, meaning the Secretary of Defense's office today, and he said, this is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran. I said, is it classified? He said, yes, sir. I said, well, don't show it to me. And I saw him a year or so ago, and I said, you remember that? He said, sir, I didn't show you that memo. I didn't show it to you.
I'm sorry, what did you say his name was?
Okay, now we talk a lot about many of the countries on that list, not all of them, but I would say tragically, horrifically, one of the countries on that list that gets ignored the most is the country that many humanitarian organizations say is currently suffering the worst humanitarian crisis on earth, even worse than Gaza. Starving children eat animal feed in besieged Sudanese city. We do not talk enough about Sudan, and what's happening to the people there is almost beyond imagining. So this is a little bit from the New York Times. This article just dropped, I think, today. The city's last functioning hospital has been bombed over 30 times. They used to have 100 hospitals there. Between 30 and 40 severely malnourished children arrive every day seeking help. There's nothing to give them but animal feed. Quote, even we're eating animal feed, said Dr. Omar Selek, tilting his camera during a video call to show his meal, a sludgy paste made from pressed peanuts that is usually given to cows, camels, and donkeys. Quote, there's nothing else. Al-Fashir is the worst battleground of Sudan's brutal civil war. For nearly 18 months, the city in the western region of Darfur has been under siege by paramilitaries trying to starve it into submission. Fighters have erected a 20-mile earthen wall around its boundaries. That leaves residents with a dire set of choices: stay and risk being bombed or starved, run and risk being killed, robbed, or sexually assaulted. Quote, people seem to have forgotten us, said Dr. Selleck, breaking into tears as he spoke. Oh my God, it's a very painful story. Man, that is rough. An estimated 260,000 people are left in Al-Fashir, trapped by the tightening siege. A kilo of pasta sells for $73, 10 times the normal price. Taha Qatar, one of the few aid workers left in the city, said by phone. His group, known as the Emergency Response Rooms, recorded the deaths of 14 children from malnutrition in the past 2 weeks. Cholera is spreading. Food convoys from the United Nations, which has not been able to deliver food to Al-Fashir in over a year, have been attacked by drones as they approach the city. One strike in June on a convoy of 15 trucks killed 5 aid workers. Another last month destroyed 3 trucks and forced the rest to turn back. It is unclear which side carried out the attacks. Young men attempting to flee the city, scrambling over the berm at night, have been executed by fighters, Mr. Qatar said. International aid groups offer help in Tooele, a small town 40 miles to the west, now heaving with more than 600,000 refugees. But the journey to Tooele is perilous. Fighters roam the area, robbing or extorting fleeing civilians. The road is lined with hastily dug graves and abandoned bodies, aid workers say. They are just left there, said Sylvain Penacaud, head of the Doctors Without Borders hospital in Tooele by phone. Rape is commonplace. The hospital treats about 40 sexual assault victims every week, but anecdotal evidence suggests that is nothing compared to the true rate, Mr. Pennicout said. So this is some very upsetting footage. This will be up to the folks at the JD show if they need to cut it for the YouTube clip. Yeah, it's not graphic, but it's upsetting to see. Footage showed, this is from Land Palestine, actually. Footage showed UAE-backed RSF militiamen tying a woman's hands and hanging her from a tree in Sudan. RSF militiamen filming himself torturing this woman by hanging her by her arms from a tree. What is really telling is that before ending the clip, the militiamen turned the camera on himself. These militiamen not only aren't ashamed, they take pride in their atrocities. So that description is pretty accurate. So if you're not down for that, look away for a minute. There are other videos where they actually found the name of this woman, and she is indeed no longer alive. Foreign involvement in the war in Sudan has worsened the siege. The United Arab Emirates has supplied guns, drones, and medical support to the RSF, hoping to push the group toward victory, the New York Times has reported. This month, Sudan's military-led government submitted a dossier to the UN Security Council that accused the Emirates of hiring a group of Colombian mercenaries known as the Desert Wolves to fight alongside the RSF. The dossier, which included passport copies, contracts, and a list of 170 people said to be mercenaries, came soon after video footage and photos purporting to show Colombian fighters in central Al-Fashir circulated online. So here's that footage. So these are, according to Sudan, these are Colombian mercenaries. The Emirates has repeatedly denied supporting either side in Sudan's war and dismissed the Sudanese dossier as a fabrication. Now, this was last year. This is Sudan's ambassador to the UN calling out the UAE for its support of the RSF in the civil war. Whoever wants to create peace in Sudan must first come with pure intentions. And the United Arab Emirates is the state that is sponsoring terrorism, that is a racist kind of terrorism. And this has been proven by the report issued by your own council. We have submitted to you, Mr. President, a week ago, 6 UAE passports that we found in Khartoum in joint operations. Sorry about that. Sometimes these go too fast. In joint operations perpetrated by the Rapid Response Forces. And you have not published this as we have asked. We did not steal these passports from the suitcases of UAE citizens. In the UAE, we found them in the heart of the battlefield. when Sudan was supporting countries and liberation movements, the United Arab Emirates was neither mentioned in history nor on the world map. Therefore, we know it's evil, and we are the ones who established its glory and laid the foundations of its modern heritage. And we built its revival with our own hands and intellectual capabilities. I urge your esteemed council to deliberate courageously and to take one final step, which is to mention the UAE and condemn it until the war ends. And part of what he's saying, and I think a lot of people don't realize this is one of the most ancient civilizations in the world. Sudan, Khartoum. Khartoum is one of the oldest cities in the history of humankind. And to see it tortured and racked this way, it's a travesty. And he's invoking, we are among the inventors of civilization. This is Sky News, and credit to the courage, especially as a woman. One of their journalists, Yustra El-Bag, actually very recently traveled into North Darfur, where the refugee camps are. So we'll take a look at that.
And has been largely neglected by the world. Sudan's humanitarian crisis is the largest in the world. 30 million people are in need of assistance. 1 in 3 children face acute malnutrition. It unraveled after war broke out in Sudan's capital, Khartoum, in April 2023, between the army and paramilitary group, the RSF. Armed violence spread across the country while the RSF captured large swathes of Darfur and laid siege on the last standing capital in the region, Al-Fashir. We traveled to North Darfur to bring you this report. Makeshift displacement shelters are clustered across the state. Inside, thousands are waiting for news from Al-Fashir, the besieged regional capital they risked their lives to escape.
We gave them money, but the rapid support forces took some women away who couldn't pay into a room. We don't know if they were beaten or raped. They threatened us and we got money out. We couldn't sleep from the sounds of the men being whipped and robbed nearby. All my brothers are trapped there. There is no one to take care of me.
Stories like Zahra's are everywhere in this camp, from the youngest to the eldest, all survivors of the rapid support forces fighting to capture their hometown. These camps are full of horror stories that have been hidden from the world. Thousands of people who fled Al-Fashir and lost loved ones to brutal violence and famine. Some arrived days ago and some have been here for months. All of them have told us that they're hoping the siege will be lifted and that they can return home. Even if the RSF ends their siege on Al-Fashir, nothing can erase the damage. Naldifa was heavily pregnant when she escaped the city's violence, and her newborn baby was blinded by conditions on the road. Hawa says she watched her 2 daughters get raped by the RSF in front of her and hasn't seen them since they fled in shame. Story after story of absolute brutality. Weighing on the volunteers tasked with keeping faith alive.
I'm living in a state of emotional torture and have depression from the number of cases I have to deal with, to the point where I had a mental breakdown.
Do you feel neglect from the international community?
I direct my blame towards the international community. How can they talk about human rights? Where is the humanity?
The neglect is stark in this barren hospital yard, where doctors say there's been little outside support. The last functioning hospital in North Darfur cannot afford to offer subsidized treatment to the civilians fleeing areas of extreme violence.
We need this support, yes. Either medication, either you can give money to the victims or to the ill patient. By anyhow, we need support.
The maternity ward is full of empty beds with few staff to clean them. In one of the beds, we find new mother Amani, who escaped Al-Fashir heavily pregnant and has just had a C-section delivery. Her brothers are still trapped there and don't know their new nephew has been born. The fight is ongoing for control of Al-Fashir and ultimately the fate of Darfur.
All right. So there are some organizations that are helping in the refugee camps. To be clear, as we saw in the reporting, nobody can get into Al-Fashir. It's under siege. They've built an earthen wall around it. They've bombed the UN when they've tried to bring in aid. But there are groups working in the surrounding areas. We just saw in the Sky report. So if you want to donate, the International Rescue Committee is one group that's doing work there. Another, of course, is Doctors Without Borders is working in the area. This is the kind of story you just, it almost fills you with despair of what humanity is capable of doing to itself, to each other. Just an absolutely horrible story. It's often commented that all of this attention goes into Gaza and Palestine, and there's very little attention on Sudan, a lot of speculation on why that is. Is it racism? I mean, they're not white in Palestine either, but certainly there's a history of treating Africa with a special disdain and a special disregard. I'm sure that's an element of it. Another element of it is, at least from an American perspective, in regards to Palestine, everybody knows one phone call, we could end it tomorrow, because without our money and without our weapons, they could not do what they do. They simply could not. When you look at what's happening in Sudan, yes, there may be ways to bring diplomatic pressure to bear, particularly in regards to the UAE connection. But to really stop it, it's hard to see how you would do that without a military commitment. And that's a road you're going to have a very hard time convincing Americans to go down. So on a practical level, I do think that's an element of it. I think if we were funding one side in this, you'd hear a lot about it. I think if you had RSF, if you had Thomas Massey going on Tucker and saying, yeah, everyone in Congress has a Sudan person. They have a Sudan person. Well, you'd hear about it then too. So there are elements like that that explain partially why Palestine gets as much focus as it does. And of course, it's not a competition. But unfortunately, Sudan, which is as horrific as things are in Palestine, it's actually worse. This animal feed, it's for animals, man. A lot of people die eating it because it's prone to get bacteria that won't kill animals, but it'll kill humans, particularly in warmer weather. You've had a lot of people have died eating this animal feed. It's animal feed. It's not for people.
Right, it's not for people, right?
It's not for people. Just absolutely horrible, horrible circumstances. And I would say for those of us with a voice, those of us with a platform, we need to do better about Sudan, man. Like if everybody's got to do what they can do. Again, it's not a competition. It's not either or. Sudan, we need eyes on Sudan, man. It's just not talked about. It's really not talked about, and it's a tragedy.
I mean, to the extent that the UAE is backing the RSF, there is some Western hand in it. Now they deny that, of course.
Sure.
And the UAE is trying to integrate itself with the West in many different ways in terms of like real estate dollars and tourism dollars and digital services and things like that, AI investments and things. So they are connected in that way. It is a more abstract connection than the United States Israel connection, obviously. But the other thing about the Sudan is the numbers. I mean, 30 million people. I mean, Gaza is as obviously horrible as that is. You're talking about 2 million. You're talking about the scale of this is really just, I think, beyond what we can really fathom. I mean, 30 million people, that's what's, I mean, the population of California, something like that. Like, it's a massive, massive crisis on a massive scale. And when you see footage like that, you just wonder how life goes on at all. How does life go on at all?
And we've covered this a few times, man, and every time there's just footage that is it's just the worst of humanity. It's just the worst of what humans are capable of. That's what I mean. I mean, the things you see coming out of Sudan are enough to cause a philosophical crisis. I mean, it's the kind of thing, it's enough to make you lose faith in humanity, that people are capable of treating each other this way. And yeah, it's not the only place you could say that about. And, clearly we cover one of them quite a bit, but this is one that really needs more attention than it gets.
Come see me on tour in Louisville, Fort Wayne, Hermosa Beach, Sacramento, San Francisco. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets.